What is up? What is up? Happy Monday. It's another Monday Mindset here. Today, I got a special Monday Mindset for you as these horns are going off in the background. So my studio is right next to the road. And so sometimes we get into trouble with fire trucks and horns going off. So I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. Hopefully not, but I got a special episode for you today. Why? Because I want to give you 4 lessons that my mother taught me. So she was a mother of 8 kids. All of us turned out to be semi-successful, depending on who you ask. And I want to give you those 4 lessons that she taught me that I think have been instrumental in my success. It's what I want to pass on and lead in my team members that I mentor and that I have the chance to lead. But more importantly than even my team members, I want to give this to my children. So I'm going to share with you 4 lessons I learned from a mother of 8 kids that everyone semi turned out successful. So we're going to talk about that, but I'll see you after the intro.
There are no bad businesses. There are just those people who don't know enough to see the opportunities in the work they're in. If there seems to be no future or opportunity in it, it isn't always because it's not there, but perhaps only because we can't see it.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to another Monday Mindset. Excited for this. Joe, good to see you. RN, good to see you. The other people, I'm seeing you as kind of Facebook users anonymous. So if you allow StreamYard to share your comments, I'll be able to see your comments. But good morning to all of you. Excited to have you on. Those who are joining on Instagram. Excited for today's episode. I hope you had an amazing Mother's Day, especially if you're a mother watching this. I hope you had an amazing Mother's Day. But all of you have mothers. And so I hope it was a great Mother's Day for you. It got me reflecting on my mother. So I come from a family of 8 kids. I'm the 3rd oldest of the 8. And, I was thinking about the impact that my mother had on me. And I wanted to share with you, my mother was responsible for teaching me the majority of what I know today. So I could spend hours and hours, and pretty much everything in my life has been built on a foundation built by my mother and my father. But there are 4 lessons that I think my mom taught me. And some of them, I don't think she even meant to necessarily teach me. But as the great Ed Milet says, most of the things that your kids get from you is caught. It's not taught, right? So we set out to teach our children things, to teach our team members things, right? Apply this to your team, not just kids, because some of you might not have kids. But most of the stuff that they get from you is caught. They're watching what you do. They watch how you live your life. And from that example, from that model, they then go and apply the things that they've learned. So I want to give you 4 things that I got from my mother that has made a huge impact, I believe, in my success. And I hope it encourages you to think about adding these things if you don't do them already. If you have kids, this is what I want my kids to take away from me as well. And I think about my mom, right? She had 8 kids. I have 2 now. So I had little Will about a month ago, and I have Evelyn, so she's a little over 2 years, right? And I think to myself, man, with 2 kids, I'm dying. I already know from Will's personality, he's like, doesn't sleep. He's up every hour. I'm like, okay, this kid's going to be the devil child. Evelyn's good, right? This one's going to be more like me, which is fantastic. I think to myself, I remember in high school being a little rebellious, like a lot of us go through. Chat in if you were rebellious in high school. I'm not the only one, hopefully. But I was a little rebellious. Thought my mom was crazy. I'm going to share a lesson today that I don't even think she was necessarily trying to teach me, but I got from those years that, I kind of wanted to do my own thing. I'm a very independent person. And I thought my mom was crazy then. I have 2 kids now. I now know my mom was a lunatic, meaning she had 8 kids. She was nuts. But guess what? She was also a superwoman, meaning like she was incredible. How did she actually raise 8 kids? Not only did she have 8 kids, she chose to homeschool them. So she chose to homeschool us all the way to college, all of us. And guess what? All of us have turned out kind of normal. Now, I know you're looking at me and going, Luke, you are not normal. And there's some awkwardness or weirdness about you. I appreciate that. But all of us turned out pretty good. One's a pilot. One's a nurse practitioner. One runs security on a military base. One of my brothers, or 2 of my brothers, started a real estate company, and they're top 1% real estate agents in the nation. My brother Dan and I started our own business, and we work together here at Reminder Media. So all of us turned out well. And I think about Will, and I think about Evelyn, and I go, man, I want to make sure I do a good job so they have success in life, and that I mentor them and I lead them appropriately. And I think about my team. I have about 300 team members. I want to do a great job for my team to lead them appropriately, because life is a journey. And whether you're a business or you have children, right? It's a vehicle. You're on a journey together. You get on the bus together and you're headed to a destination. Guess what? Everybody has their stop. Everybody gets off the bus. Even me, I think here at Reminder Media, I love this business to death. I hope I do it for the rest of my life, right? But there will come a point in time, whether it's in my old age or sooner than that, whatever God has planned, where I'm going to get off the Reminder Media bus. Reminder Media is just a vehicle. And my hope is in this journey that we're on, wherever we're going, the direction, the destination, that I lead people well, that they look back at this bus, they look back at the vehicle that they were driving in when I was with them and go, man, that I'm better off because of the journey I took with Luke, because of the relationship I had with Luke. You should think the same for you and your team, that you have a vehicle right now that you're helping people. You're helping your team members. You're helping your downline, whatever it is. You're helping your children. They're on this vehicle with you. Will they look back and be, man, I'm better off on that journey that I took? So here are the 4 lessons that I learned from my mother. One is, and this is the most important, she taught me about identity. She taught me about my identity. She taught me about where my identity comes from. So you guys know my dad's a pastor, so that makes my mom a pastor's wife. And ultimately, what I get at here is true identity. I think your true identity comes from your creator. And I don't want to make this over spiritual or anything like that to turn people off. But I want to tell you the importance of knowing where your identity comes from. Because guess what? If you don't know where your identity comes from, if you don't know who you are, you will be tossed around like a leaf in the wind. You will be pulled in every direction. You will be trying to appease and live your life by the opinions of others and what others think about you, what others think about your identity versus knowing who you are. And you can't help other people until you're good with yourself. I'm part of a mastermind group called YPO. It's a bunch of business leaders in our network here in Philadelphia. You have to run a business that's at least $16 million, that has at least 50 employees. These are big business people. Most of the people in my group, they run $80, $100 million companies, 500 employees plus. And one of the things I've learned from that group is it is so important being good with yourself. Translate that. It is so important knowing who you are, knowing what your identity is, knowing who gives you your identity, that it's not made by the opinions of others and what others think about you. Because guess what? As a kid, right? If your identity is drawn by the opinions of others, guess what you fall into? Peer pressure. You fall into giving in to trying to be cool, trying to be popular, trying to appease people. And it applies to business. If you don't know who you are, think about your mission statement for your business, your vision statement for your business. If your business doesn't have an identity, you're just going to be tossed and turned by the latest shiny object. You're going to give in to every single thing that comes your way because who's ever in front of you at the time, guess what? They control your identity because you're trying to impress them. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you're going. And therefore, you just go every which way. And in the end, right, you please no one because you're trying to please everyone. And my mom really taught me that, Luke, your identity comes from God, who you are and your worth, your self-worth, right? And the importance of who you are is already defined by your creator. So it doesn't matter what others think. It matters what he thinks of you. So that for me personally was transformational in my life and has given me a stability that I can't even explain because of that. And in my journey, right, and I'm, this is a whole nother show that I won't even get into here, but I ended up leaving my faith in Jesus, right, and studying all these other religions and kind of that normal journey that I think a lot of kids take that grow up in church. And I came full circle around, and the foundation of who I am is so rock solid that it gives me the confidence to go out into the world every single day and really try to achieve the vision and mission that I have for my life because I know who I am. So do you know your identity? Do you know the identity of your business and where you're going? If you don't, spend some time getting good with yourself because you can't help others until you're good. You can't give from an empty cup, as they say, right? Your cup has to be overflowing. All right, so I'm looking at these comments coming in. Hey, good morning, Brian. Thanks for being here, brother. Really appreciate you joining. All of you who join in the Insurance Syndicate, I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys commenting, and those who are joining on my Instagram, thanks for tuning in. All right, so here's the second lesson that my mom gave me that flows from the first but is different. So my mom, right, she didn't grow up wealthy. She married my dad, and my dad's identity and his vision for his life had nothing to do with wealth. He was a pastor. He still is a pastor. He's been a pastor for like 34 years. And so I've shared this before, like the first years, he was making like $11,000 a year, living in a parsonage with like 5 kids at the time. We didn't grow up wealthy at all, but I never knew that about my parents. Like I never knew growing up that I was poor. They did an incredible job. I think a little bit is because I was homeschooled, so I didn't have the probably interactions as socially as much as maybe other kids did to face that peer pressure and that fact. But I didn't really know. So they did a great job there. I knew there was stress when it came to bills because I knew when the bills came along, that was not a good day when they were doing the bills. But one thing that I think what I caught from my parents is that materialistic things are not the purpose of life and do not fulfill you. Now, I want to be careful here because I want all of you to have materialistic things. I want all of you to be wealthy. In fact, I've shared with my parents to this day that, hey, you should be wealthy, meaning like it's not the end all be all of life, but it is a great tool to have because you can help more people and also you can experience life in a greater way. You can achieve and do more things. So I think all of you should be wealthy. I think it was Brad Lee maybe who said, anybody who tells you that being rich is not what it's all about has never been rich. But the point I'm trying to make here is that what I caught from them is the real meaning of life, which is relationships. Like true wealth comes from relationships. If you have a couple of really close friends, maybe friends that you've kept since middle school, since high school, what a blessed person you are to have a couple close friends. I think to myself, one of my regrets, and I've shared this on my Stay Paid podcast before, is that I didn't do a very good job in my years in life so far of keeping track of all of my relationships, of not only putting them into a CRM so I can actually contact them, but valuing them the way that I should have. I have friends that I grew up with, like best friends. We would go on camping trips together all the time, and I'm still connected to them. But man, we've lost that deep, close relationship, and we didn't have to because I didn't focus on the relationship. And that happens to all of us in life. So you're a blessed person if you just even have a couple really close friends. And I'm blessed because I have 7 other siblings, and all of my siblings, we are close. We are insanely close and talk to each other all the time, which is fantastic. But relationships are the important piece of life. You know this in your business, whether you're insurance, real estate, mortgage, financial advising, it doesn't matter. What is it? It's a relationship game. The more relationships you have, the more success you will have. How do you have relationships? You focus not on the transaction, you focus on value. And I think about, once you understand foundationally that, look, whether I have $100 million in my bank account at the end of my life, or $10 million, or $200,000, right? What's most important is not that, because you can't take it with you, as the cliche says. What's most important is the impact of the relationships you had. And at your deathbed, right? Who's going to be there? At your eulogy, at your funeral, who's going to be there? And that is the sign of true wealth. Blessed is a person that has those relationships, that's invested in people and stored up treasures, not just in their bank account, but outside their bank account, right? So the second thing my mom taught me was it's about relationships. To this day, one of the things that does irritate me is my mom doesn't really think anything of my success, which is great because you need those people that humble you. But every once in a while, I'll be like, Mom, come on. Aren't you impressed of kind of what I've achieved and where I've come from? To her, real success and real wealth is in those relationships. And so it's been something that's kept me humble, that's been powerful from that perspective. Sorry, guys, my camera shut off on the insurance syndicate again. I'm going to have to figure this out. I thought I fixed the camera issue, but I obviously have not fixed the camera issue. So it shuts off on me for some reason. All right, third thing my mom taught me, and this was one that I caught, less taught. So I told you I was a little bit rebellious, wanting to do my own thing. And my mom says I'm very independent. If Luke wants to do something, he does it. If someone tells Luke to do something, he doesn't do it, right? So I was kind of that type of child. My mom would always do the saying, maybe you've heard this from your parents, when you live in my house, as long as you live in my house, under my roof, and I pay your bills, you have to do what I say. And that irritated me. I remember at like 14 years old getting on Craigslist and those type of sites looking for jobs just so I could get money to be independent. Fun fact about me, not fun, embarrassing fact about me. When I was young, I ran away from home, I think 3 times. Not legitimately ran away from home, but like literally ran away for the day. One time I stayed out 2 days. This is how dumb I was as a kid and how I guess independent. I wanted to do things my own way. And here, let me do this real quick. I'm going to change my camera because I hate that it keeps cutting off on the insurance syndicate here. So I'm going to change my camera for you guys and try this other camera to see if I can get it to actually work. So let me do that. Let me change my camera real quick. Bear with me. Appreciate you guys actually bearing with me here. And let me see if I can get this camera to work here for a second. But anyway, so I ran away from home and don't worry, I'm still working on the camera for those who are like, Luke, we can't see you. We can only hear you. Let me do this. Let me see if I can actually get this to work. Nothing like technical difficulties, right? Let's see. Okay, there we go. Let's see if this comes on here in a second. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, we will figure this out. Okay, I am back. Okay, sorry about that. So I ran away from, that was a cliffhanger. So I ran away from home a couple times because I was a stupid little kid. And you know what? The reason why is because I was so irritated with my independence. And here's what that taught me, though, in life. And I wrote this down. If someone else is paying your bills, you're not in control. So you have to be independent. You have to get out there and pay your own bills, meaning you have to be the one that is willing to work to build your success so you can have freedom in your life. True freedom, you have to have freedom of independence when it comes to paying your bills, making your own money. And, you know, they often say rich people, they don't chase wealth, they chase freedom. And that's so true. That's what I chase. It's like, man, I want to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, with whom I want to do it. And in order to do that, I got to work my butt off. I got to work my butt off to pay my own bills, to pay my own way. There's no handouts in life. Right? The government tries to give you as many handouts as they can, but there's no handouts in life. Most of us have to work really hard to make a way for ourselves. And the reason we do it is to have freedom. So my mom taught me at a very young age, hey, if I'm paying your bills, if you're living in my house, guess what? You have to abide by my rules. What does that solidify in my brain? Hey, the same thing I wanted to solidify in Evelyn's brain, my daughter, and Will's brain, my son. You want your independence? You got to work hard for that independence. You got to make your own way. You got to pay your own bills in life. Nothing is handed to you. And guess what? This gives you dignity. When you work hard for something, when you rob people of the ability to work hard for something, they lose dignity. This gives them dignity because they're proud of what they've accomplished. And we were created to work, man. You're not created to get a handout. You're created to use your brain, to have creativity, to put in effort. And so apply that to your people, to your kids, to your sphere, that, hey, there's no free handouts in life. If you want freedom, you got to work for it. Okay, the fourth and final thing that my mom taught me, and again, she taught me almost all that I know in life, but these are 4 things that really, I think, have been instrumental in my way of life and thinking today. The 4th thing is she taught me to think outside of the box. She taught me that I don't have to conform to what the world is telling me, that I can do things differently. How did she do this? She homeschooled me. She homeschooled me all the way to college. And it's not just in the education that she gave me. I think my mom, I was incredible at English and terrible at math. Funny about me is like I ended up going to community college. I only tested into algebra and math because my mom was bad at math. Every semester in college, I had a math. It was terrible. I went all the way up past Calc 2 to this computer science math, all that stuff. But it wasn't because of the education necessarily. It was because nobody at the time of homeschooling, it's kind of like not the pariah, but people thought it was strange. Why are you doing this? Why do you think you can homeschool your kid? And I caught from that you don't have to fit into a box. You don't have to do it exactly the way everybody else tells you to do it. And this really put in me critical thinking. One of the biggest mistakes I see in entrepreneurs that I mentor, entrepreneurs that come to me that are trying to build a business, I realize, hey, man, what they're looking for is they're looking for the textbook that they can study so they can take the multiple choice test so they can pass the test and get an A. In other words, they're looking for this step-by-step program that there's one way to do it. When I approach a problem, I just think about the result. Hey, what am I trying to do? Oh, I'm trying to get these cinder blocks from point A to point B. All right. I'm going to get the cinder blocks from point A to point B. I don't think I'm stuck to a certain way to do it, a certain formula, a certain textbook. I'm just trying to pragmatically solve the problem. You should just try to pragmatically solve the problem. You need to think outside the box. There's not one way to do something. And on top of that, you don't have to be put into a box to try to solve it a certain way. Your value as an entrepreneur is you bring solutions. And you don't change the world unless you're a little crazy, right? You don't do something innovative unless it's outside the box. Because my mom chose to homeschool me, she didn't even realize probably she was putting this into me, is that, wow, I didn't have to fit in to do it exactly like everybody else. I don't have to fit into that. And so those 4 things were so impactful in my life today that, wow, if I focus on my identity, who I am truly, if I'm good with myself, then I can go help others. If I focus on relationships, if I realize that, hey, as long as someone else is paying my bills, I don't have freedom. I got to get out there and work hard. And then 4th, I can think outside the box. I can use critical thinking. Man, those 4 things is what I want to ingrain in my team and my kids to help them be successful and bring them along this journey. So hope this has inspired you a little bit. Hope this has encouraged you. Appreciate you guys so much. Sorry about the camera issues, but it is Monday, so no excuses because you can't take excuses to the bank. Get out there and win for you, for your clients, for your family. Let's go make it happen and know who you are. Remember, your identity is the most important because from your identity flows your actions, flows everything that you do. Let's make it a great Monday. Appreciate you guys.